Their idea was that they would have a sales manager. They believed that for their chain of stations, it was important that there be not that the sales manager be in charge of the news, but that there be somebody there with sales background who would give that perspective within the news conference. And I said, that's not the way we do news, and that's not the way I do news, and it's not the way I'm going to do news. And they were at that moment adamant about it, and at that moment KNBC and WCBS both offered me jobs, and we took KNBC. And so we came out to KNBC in 1984. I was co-anchoring with Tricia Toyota both at the 11 o'clock and at the 5 o'clock newscasts. Tricia left the newscast in the 11 o'clock was number 3 at the time, and the 5 o'clock was number 4 at the time. And Tricia left the newscast, 6 months into it, and Kelly Lang was moved to the 11 o'clock to co-anchor with me. And the newscast went well as far as the acceptance was concerned. We were almost every month after my first 6 or 8 months there, number 1 at 11. The NBC was helping. I would like to take all the credit, but I cannot. Kelly was wonderful, and Kelly was great. She used to say, "Nick, you do news, I do gorgeous." She was terrific. So we would, and we had a good staff. 256 people in that newsroom. 256. I was stunned by it. But again, there were difficulties. You're seeing a theme here, so obviously this can't all be their fault. Some of it must be mine. But I was having great difficulty with some members of the management team who felt that our news should be more, I don't know how to put it here, we would later say more showbiz. I can give you a specific example if you have a moment for it, and that
Yes.
was, this one was actually this was the final blow. I went down to what we then call South Central LA to cover a nasty event. It was a drive-by shooting. A little 13-year-old girl had been shot dead accidentally, and some others had been wounded. And this was on a Thursday night, I believe. And the big 11 o'clock show on NBC, 10 o'clock show on NBC in those days was Hill Street Blues. And I came back, and the executive producer of the newscasts said, "Got a great idea. I just come back from this terrible, it was even difficult getting shooters to go down there with you, because this was dangerous stuff, and it was visceral. It was right at the center of what LA's dark underside was, what the problem was, and this was very important stuff, in my view." Well, he says, what we're going to do, we're going to get Hill Street Blues. We got a guy there who is an actor, and he is going to talk about drive-by shootings because they just had an episode 2 or 3 episodes ago about drive-by shootings, and he did some research, and we want you to interview him.
And he was playing a detective on that show.
Detective on the show, yes, that's right. And so I said, "No, you want me to talk to a real detective, or you want me to talk to a psychologist, or you want me to talk?" I said, "Great, I'll get him, and we'll put him on." He's an actor. That little girl that he talked about is going to take off her makeup, and she's going to get up, and she's going to go to school, and she's going to do another. I just came away from a cold, dead 13-year-old. She's not getting up. She's not going anywhere. We can't be doing that. We can't be doing show business and placing it in the middle of reality. We can't do that. And so we had a really serious discussion on that. They said, "Well, we get the other anchor to do it." And I said, "Fine, but and I'm supposed to do the toss in the end. That's what I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to toss to it. I'm not going to outro it. I'm not going to do anything." And so that was hard for them to take, and I understand that they have lines of authority that cannot be abrogated, but on the other hand, I had certain lines of authority too, and that was, I think, the last serious altercation we had. Then my contract was up, and the gentleman who was the general manager of the station wanted me to leave, and I wanted to leave, and the gentleman who was who was in charge of all the local stations, that is to say the O&Os, he didn't want me to leave because the numbers were up, That's all he cared about. Numbers were up. And so we finally had a long meeting, and I said, why don't you let me write the release? Instead of you say, I said, I'm not going to let you say that I'm going because the numbers are no good. Or I'll write the release. They said, yeah, you write the, and that was fine. We just shook hands and I left and went back to Cincinnati and did another couple of years as anchor and news director and a couple of years as commentator.
But before we leave that, did you feel that incident was solely responsible?
Oh, no, not solely. There were a number of incidents. There was about once a month we would have some kind of a meeting about something like that. Something that I thought, and I was not alone, believe me. I mean, this is a very large newsroom with a lot of very hard-nosed, tough news people that had been there a long time. And I was only one of many who were protesting some of these decisions, at the moment of an earthquake in my memory is a moment of an earthquake, a really serious earthquake in Southern California, and by extension also in Mexico City. It was a very nasty event. We were going to lead the newscast with Michael Jackson's tour opening in Kansas City. And I said to the news director, why? And he said, well, it's a local story. He's from Encino. I said, no sale. I don't think that works. I said, let's talk news. Well, I lost that one, but and it certainly wasn't my call. I wasn't the news director, but it was again writing on the wall.